shall see. Now that exclusive chat with Dame Julie Andrews. The actress is back in the capital for the premiere of her new film, and she revealed just what it is about London that she misses most. She spoke to our entertainment correspondent, Ken Andrew.
Your luggage. Very good.
Relative Values is Julie Andrews' first feature film in a decade. Based on a rarely performed Noel Coward play, it's a perfect comeback role for the archetypal English Rose, as she plays the Countess of Marshwood, whose life is disrupted by the arrival of an American movie star, played by Jean Tripplehorn, who's determined to marry her son.
Hello, darling. Welcome home.
Oh, thank you, Mother.
May I present my nephew, Peter Ingleton?
Delighted.
Pleasure to make your acquaintance.
Peter?
Would you take me to my room, sweetheart? I want to have a swim before dinner.
How very civilized. Why not?
It's one of those wonderful little English movies that you just love to see all these wonderful people strutting their stuff. I mean, it's such an ensemble piece, and it's a relatively unknown Coward play. It hasn't been done that often, and I think it's probably one of the plays that really lends itself to opening up to the screen.
Julie is returning to movies after an operation on non-cancerous growths on her vocal cords badly affected her singing voice. She's suing the medical staff involved, and now the legendary star of The Sound of Music and Mary Poppins doesn't know if she'll ever sing again.
I'm optimistic. I have to be optimistic because I don't like any other thought but that. I really don't know, and time will tell. My speaking voice has come back quite well, but I still can't sing, so we'll see.
Back in London for a rare visit from her stateside home, Julie is catching up on the things she misses most.
Spring and friends, not necessarily in that order, and family.
When you come back here on a glorious summer's day like this, he said, as the rain pelts
down. As the rain pelts down. Typical, yes.
But you know, a lot of people, English
What was it? Somebody like Hermione Gingold once said, England's a wonderful place, but it badly needs a roof. I think today it does.
But what's the when you fly into Heathrow and you take that road, the familiar road into town, what's the first thing you like to do when you come here? Shop or go to your favourite restaurant or what?
I think it's probably have a good English cup of tea and probably some eggs and bacon, because that's sort of where it's at for me. The minute you've touched down is usually what you want most.
Relative Values is premiered tomorrow. It's a welcome return for one of England's best cinematic exports.
Martinis all round?
Love one.
In the West End, this is Ken Andrew for London Tonight.
Ah, tea and spring, things that mean a lot to Jonathan Wills, along with that little thing called sport, I think.
A large thing called sport. Thank you very much. Good evening. Aside from concerns...
Bridal film joy, and here's how it pans out. We ask film icon and all-round Dame Julie Andrews your questions about her career. We find out what you need to make an absolute surefire monster hit movie. We review Madonna's latest film excursion, Next Best Thing, and Big Mama's House from slapstick meister Martin Lawrence. But let's first go to America. Here are our answers.
Miranda, welcome to Marshwood, my dear.
Thank you, Lady Marshwood. I can't tell you how thrilled I am to be here.
There's no doubt about it, Dame Julie Andrews is a legend. Now the 64-year-old is back in Noel Coward comedy Relative Values, in which she plays a kindly aristocrat whose son returns home with a new Hollywood girlfriend.
Would you take me to my room, sweetheart? I want to have a swim before dinner.
How very civilized. Why not?
Andrews' pitch-perfect voice, warm smile and good nature has made her an icon following performances as Mary Poppins and a singing nun in The Sound of Music. We gave you the chance to send in questions for Dame Julie, and here are the best, answered by the woman who can help the medicine go down any day.
What was it like returning to a screen after all this time?
I think you're always nervous starting up, no matter how often you film. I think you always hope that you'll match the brilliance of the rest of the company and things like that, and that you'll get it right. It takes about a week to kind of slide under the wire, so to speak.
Have you ever wanted to change your wholesome image?
I tried from time to time, and have gotten away with quite a lot. But the thing is that when you're known for, when the things that you have done, like Sound of Music and Poppins, are so hugely successful, they kind of overshadow anything else you might try to do. And so I really don't knock it at all, because I think eventually the body of work speaks for itself.
You don't like her, do you, Mother?
Well, of course I don't. I think she's a perfect ass.
A firm Christmas favourite, The Sound of Music has taken on a life of its own. In one London cinema, you could even trill Do Re Mi with Julie in a sing-along version. It was also the perfect hangover cure as the first movie on TV after Millennium Eve.
Are you pleased about the karaoke screenings of The Sound of Music?
I've always wanted to be a fly on the wall at that theatre, and it's marvellous, and people seem to be having such a great time, and it's done with enormous goodwill and good spirit. I think it's great.
Having originated the role of Eliza Doolittle in My Fair Lady on stage, Andrews has flitted successfully between Broadway and the big screen. She also scooped an Oscar as the magical nanny in Mary Poppins.
Who would you like to play Mary Poppins in a remake?
Well, I'm told that there is a remake and that one of the Spice Girls is going to be doing it. Now, I don't know if that's true. Ginger Spice, I think, or something like that.
Born in Surrey and married for 30 years to director Blake Edwards, Andrews is now a happy expat living in America. And despite having unsuccessful surgery on throat nodules, which means she can't sing publicly, Andrews still looks young for her years.
What's your secret to looking good after all these years?
I've been lucky in that I do have a fairly good English skin, which we're famous for. And my mum had pretty good bones, and I guess that's a big help. I guess it's genetic more than anything else.
Now that you're back, will you continue making films?
If they come along, sure. I've got a film that I'm going to be doing, I think, in the fall, and I've got some television to do. And I'm very busy writing at the moment, actually. I'm writing children's books, and I'm going to be starting my biography. So I've got enough work cut out for me, believe me.
Would you ever make The Sound of Music too?
No, I think I'm much too old for that. Unless you portrayed me as now, you know, an old lady still trying to climb over the hills or something.
Thanks for all your emails. We'll do that again soon. Relative Values opens in the UK on June the 23rd. Now another video double bill where we recommend 2 videos for a night in the movies. This week we've got 2 World War II classics, so get D-Mob happy. Take off your helmet, open up your billy can for a night in with best armchair warfare available.
OK, so we lost on Tuesday.
Film 2000 with Jonathan Ross.
Hello and welcome to Film 2000, the movie show that likes to say,
Sequestered as we are, sir, in our remote Kentish vacuum, we're not entirely out of touch with the larger world beyond. We have been privileged, thanks to the silver screen and the various periodicals appertaining to it, to follow your public and private affairs with the keenest interest.
What? Tonight, Dame Julie Andrews on the theory of relativity, Rupert Everett on childbearing with Madonna, plus Big Mama on housework, and Bollywood's greatest hits. There's a new kind of leading man emerging in Hollywood. He's handsome, fun, chatty, wise, a good listener, not a bad cook, and homosexual. He is the uber gay, the object of many women's unrequited love, and he's personified by Chisel. To meet your mum for the first time can provide a wealth of comedy material, especially so in 50s England if your mum's a countess and your girlfriend's a Hollywood star. How times change. Anyway, that's the comedy peg on which Noel Coward hung his stage play, Relative Values. And that's the way it stayed for Relative Values, the movie, starring Julie Andrews as Countess Marshwood, the mum in question, Jean Tripplehorn as Miranda, the Hollywood star with a murky past, Sophie Thompson as Moxie, the upstairs maid who knows too much about that murky past, and Edward Atherton as husband-to-be. That's enough cast. Here's a clip.
It's insufferable! You're dead right! Oh, it all sounds very touching. You standing in a slum, gazing out of Mum's window. But it might interest you to know that Mum died in hospital. And also, she wouldn't have died at all if you hadn't broken her heart by running off to America with that trumped-up seedy agent. How dare you speak to me like that? What kind of sick charade is this anyway? Is this how you get your kicks over here?
Miranda, none of this was done to hurt you.
Oh, yeah? Well, then why the hell was it done at all? You know what I'm saying, you old breeder. I don't want to say a word about it. You hadn't started showing off and making out that you were brought up in the gutter. And London caught me born with the sound of bow bells. You were born at number 3, Station Road, Sidcup. And if you can hear the sound of bow bells from Sidcup, you must have the ears of an elk hound.
And it is my great pleasure to tell you that the star of that film, and indeed she is a star of The Highest Order, is here with me on the Film 2000 couch right now, Julie Andrews. Julie?
Hi,
It's such a huge pleasure to meet you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, too.
It's great to see you back on the screen. It really is. We
Thank
haven't seen you at the cinema as much as I would like personally for so many years now, but you're back on sparkling form. What was it that tempted you to Relative Values?
Oh, gosh, nice role. Noel Coward, wonderful new young director whom I admire. And why wouldn't I say yes?
And, of course, you knew Coward, I believe.
Yes, I did. Not terribly well, but well enough that we would bump into each other at parties, and he would come backstage at My Fair Lady when I was doing it on Broadway, and here in England, too.
Would he have approved of this version, do you think?
I think he would. I think he would have approved of the way it's been adapted for the screen, because it's just opened up beautifully.
Yeah, they have broadened it out. I mean,
yes.
It's not one of those films where you can immediately say, yes, this was a play.
Right. Also, it's very loyal to, faithful to him. I mean, it really feels like Coward.
The dialogue zips along. Here you have something which is, obviously, it's a period comedy.
Right.
I mean, it's a comedy which not only set in a specific period, and they're pretty faithful to that, but also, actually, the humour grows out of the situation of that period.
Right.
Was there a concern that maybe a modern audience might find it hard to accept that class was ever such an issue?
I don't think so. I think it's as relevant today as it was then, in a way. Those things still exist, subculture, I suspect. I think people will get it.
Let me ask you about the cast then you're surrounded with, because obviously you have the hefty central role there.
Actually, it's pretty well divided. It's a marvellous ensemble group, because I don't think that any one role's bigger than the other. Anyway, what was your question?
It's probably because they revolve around you, that's what I'm thinking. You're very much at the core.
Mum at the centre,
yeah.
right.
You're at the core of the movie there. But you're surrounded by some great people. Sophie in particular, I think.
Oh, isn't she wonderful?
She delivers a fantastic performance.
Sophie Thompson is just wonderful. She plays my wonderful little lady Moxie, who looks after me, and actually the whole film focuses around her dilemma.
It's one of those films you get the feeling watching that it was a lot of fun.
Enormous fun. First of all, we all bonded, and we had about a week's rehearsal, and we were working in this glorious house, which is supposed to be my home. So we all had sort of nice ease of getting to know the place, really feeling like it was ours. I kept sort of going around thinking, well, this would be very nice if it were mine. But mostly we bonded as a company, and we're so happy to be seeing each other again, reuniting for this premiere and just getting together.
Do you think this might mark a return of Coward to the screen? I mean, already we've seen a renewed interest in him in recent years, but do you think there might be more Coward adaptations?
Well, I've heard that a lot of interest has been expressed by many film companies. Now, whether they've picked up any other properties or not, I don't know, but this 100th anniversary that he's just had, and a whole kind of renaissance for him, a renewal, you know. I'd like to see that. Because he has a lot to say, you know. He's not just superficial, witty, sort of acerbic stuff. It's actually underneath it all. There's quite a lot to be said.
Although, you know, superficial, witty stuff does it for me anyway.
It does it for me too.
That would be fine.
Yes.
Let me ask you about some of your other movies and your long career in cinema, because, of course, I think you're probably best known for two roles, which will always be Mary Poppins and Maria von Trapp. I mean, people, you know, you're always there. But you've worked right across the board. There were the adult comedies of recent years, like Ten and SOB and Victor Victoria. You worked with Hitchcock, Torn Curtain. Are you resigned to the fact that you will always be kind of remembered as Mary Poppins?
I'm not resigned to it. I mean, by that I mean I don't knock it, ever. And I'm thrilled to have been a part of those movies. I think in as much as that it prevented some producers from thinking of me in any other kind of role, it might have been detrimental, but how can you knock something that's given so many people so much pleasure, including me?
Yeah, well, Mary Poppins is still such a firm favourite in my house.
Good.
I'll give you a little burst of it later.
Oh, terrific. I can't wait.
Are you aware of this huge revival of interest on these kind of sing-along evenings?
I know, the karaoke Sound of Music, yeah.
Now, I wonder, are you tempted not just to go along in disguise one
I am
night?
absolutely tempted. In fact, don't be surprised if I do show up one night. I'm just wondering whether to go as myself or in disguise.
Go as one of the Nazis. That'll really turn it all around for you.
Good idea. But what if they spot me? That's terrible. If they say, oh, that's really Julie Andrews.
Then you can finally catch those kids and tell them what you really thought of them. Julie, it really was a tremendous pleasure meeting you. I can't wait to see you in more movies. Good luck with the premiere.
Thanks.
Good luck with Relative Values. Good luck with everything, in fact.
Thanks. Same to you.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks.
I'm sorry about last night.
Oh, please.
I shouldn't have come busting in here and shooting off my mouth. I apologize.
Apologies accepted.
One cup of coffee and I'm out of here. Miranda and me, well, We were washed up a long time ago.
Are you quite sure about that?
What do you mean?
This proposed marriage between Miranda and my son is a mistake, because you're the one she loves. Her heart, her somewhat obstinate, capricious heart, belongs to you alone.
I'm not so sure about that.
Oh, she told me so.
She did?
Well, not in so many words, but being a woman, I've seen the way she looks at you, the tone of her voice when she speaks
She
to you.
told me she never wants to talk to me again.
Oh, people only say things like that when they're passionately in love.
The cast of Relative Values revel in Coward's rather convoluted plotlines and equally twisty dialogue, and you'd have to be an absolute shower not to find it at least mildly entertaining. Dame Julie remains the icon she undoubtedly is. Jean Tripplehorn is a little less than convincing in what is admittedly a difficult role, but it's Sophie Thompson who steals the show as Moxie. You may question the relevance of a 50s comedy of upper-class manners in the 21st century, but I know a few old ladies who'll think it's absolutely marvellous. And zipping swiftly back to the here and now, here's a selection of items for that most fangled of modern contraptions, the televisual home entertainment.
I think a hard act to follow.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think this show will, for a hygienic child, I don't know, my mother's probably watching going, no, you weren't. But...
That's it from our festival correspondent for the moment. Rosie,
Sorry,
thanks
I'm so
very much indeed. I'm the same, actually. Now, to some, she will always be the singing school governess. For others, Julie Andrews is quite simply the queen of the musical. 35 years after The Sound of Music, Dame Julie's starring in a new film based on Noel Card's play about what you do if you disapprove of the woman your son wants to marry.
Welcome home, my lord. Yes, I shall attend to your luggage.
Very good, Creswell.
Relative Values is set in 1950s England and tells of the consternation caused when the Earl of Marshwood announces he's to marry an American film star.
Welcome to Marshwood, my dear.
Thank you, Lady Marshwood.
Well, Coward's always nice to do. First of all, he's witty and he has something to say underneath all that kind of cerebral surface stuff. He really does. And this piece has a nice little message about class structure and values.
Obviously, everyone asks you about The Sound of Music. More than
So
30
go
years,
ahead.
yes. So, and I'm going to fall into the same trap and ask you about it. How do you feel about it now?
I feel very proud about it now. It's one of the most beautifully crafted movies, and I'm thrilled that I was a part of it. I don't knock it ever, because it gave so much pleasure to so many people, including me.
And still is.
Well, yes, the karaoke version, for instance, at the theatre here is doing wonderfully. A musical is tremendous fun. You've got the music on the set, and it just sort of gives everything life and vigor and force and joy. It probably is a little harder to do a film without music, especially for me. Yeah.
So you found Relative Values?
No, funnily enough, Coward has a kind of theatrically, it's slightly, I can't say it's musical, but there's that wit about it, it sparkles, and so it wasn't quite as quiet as you might expect on the set. And we had a good time. Isn't it a beautiful thing?
Last month, Julie Andrews was summoned to Buckingham Palace to receive her insignia as Dame Commander of the Order of the British Empire.
It means something very private, something about recognition from one's country, which means a great deal to me, because I do feel very English in spite of living in America, and I never expected it to happen because I live in America. So it's a very quiet pleasure.
I mean, what does England, Britain mean to you now? Share some of
Britain's my country. Britain was my home. I feel a little bit that I have a foot in across the Atlantic, one side, either side of the Atlantic, because the Americans have been so good and so kind to me and so welcoming. But I am undeniably and irrevocably British and feel that way, and I'm very proud to be so.
There ain't nothing like a dame. Now, talk about a lucky break.
Pretty good.
Not bad, eh?
Pretty good.
Not bad, eh?
wins despite several attempts. Tyson has been in London preparing for a fight in Scotland on Saturday. Dame Julie Andrews was in the West End this evening for the premiere of her first movie in a decade. Relative Values is based on a Noel Coward classic and also features a collection of homegrown stars, including actor Stephen Fry. That's it for now. We're back tomorrow, beginning with bulletins in GMTV at 6:10. Until then, good night.